Hello. Anybody still listening or watching and listening? It's been some time since I've done one of these. I've sort of lost track of the initial whatever. I'm in Cork, and I have been for about a month now. I came back about 2 weeks before Christmas. I self-isolated in my sister's apartment for a week, and then I got a test and came back negative. So then I moved back in home and to make sure that I was safe and wasn't spreading this new UK variant of the vaccine, of the coronavirus, novel coronavirus, which strangely the UK weren't massively patriotic about creating, as they were about the vaccine. Since then, Ireland's had the worst rate in the world, and now that honour has gone to the UK. When we had the worst rate in the world, it was all over the news as being, this is terrible, we need to really kind of do something about this. I saw this morning a government minister from the UK who was kind of crowing about how they've got the highest rate of vaccinations in the world, which I think is true. Well, they've got a pretty good one. Was then asked, will we have the highest death rate? And he said, well, you can't compare these things. And refused to kind of even answer questions about why they might have the highest death rate in the world, which I think says everything, really. No responsibility, no ability to even look at themselves and see what they might be doing wrong. And also they're talking about reducing the amount of universal credit given to people, which at the moment is all I'm subsisting on, is universal credit. Well, that and my mother's food and stuff and hospitality, which seems like a pretty poor time to be reducing the universal credit. They're calling it level up as well, because the Conservative government here in the UK work on kind of Victorian principles, and that the only way to get people to work is by taking everything from them, and then they'll be forced to work, because of course normal people just don't want to work. They just want to sit around all day doing nothing, which I can tell you isn't true. It's horrendous. I want to be doing stuff. I want to be at work. I want to be working as hard as I was working a few years ago. But the reason why I'm not doing that isn't because I'm lazy. It's because of the pandemic. So I'm back in Cork for the moment. I'm not sure how long I'll be here. I've done some auditions online and stuff like that. I just thought I'd check in. I'm walking down Centre Park Road. This used to be one of the industrial centres of Ireland back in the 80s. Before the 80s, there was the Ford plant where all the Ford motor cars were built for Europe. Henry Ford had Irish roots, and so he decided to put a Ford factory in Ireland, not for any real economic reason. I mean, infrastructurally, Ireland in the 1940s when he did it, was not somewhere you'd want to put a factory. But he did, and it really was a backbone of Ireland until the 80s when it just moved and it was taken down. It was a massive knock, and this place has been sort of a scar on the back of Cork for decades. But at the moment, plans are afoot to turn the whole thing into kind of a big parkland in that residential area, which would be quite cool, to be honest, as the river is just over there. You can't see it, but it's at the other side. And I'm walking just in the rain. So yeah, it'll be nice when it's turned into parkland. It was sort of a very important route for me when I used to cycle up this road every day on the way to UCC college when I was studying archaeology and history. It's just sort of industrial wasteland. Hold tight, everybody. I've dropped something. This will be all be over eventually, I hope, and we can move back to our lives. And maybe hope and joy and things and work and creativity and progress will again be a thing. So let me know how you're doing. If you have any questions about anything you'd like to see in Cork. I know some of you were really keen last time to see Rory Gallagher's house. I know nothing about Rory Gallagher, which I suppose pains me as a Cork man, but to be honest, there's so much about Ireland that Rory Gallagher, great guitarist, but there's a lot about Ireland that you're supposed to be that I've never really been, and I find it was quite isolating growing up here. Like sport, the obsession with sport, and now that I'm back you can really see it. We've half an hour in the news every night where they go through everything that happened in sport, even though pretty much as much as there is on the actual news. And as a kid I was never really into sport, and it made me basically a pariah from everyone. And you never see anyone represented in fiction or the media or anything who isn't into sport. And if you're not good at sport, I was legally blind as a child. I had got laser surgery later on, and I had no depth perception, so I wasn't very good at football. And if you weren't good at football, then that was the end of your ability to have worth, pretty much, in Irish society of the 80s. Not that I'm not a very active person. I love running and walking and climbing and adventure and all that stuff. Just not footballs. Never been a big football man. One of the things that's been happening in Ireland while I've been back is a report on the mother and baby homes. Hold on. A report on the mother and baby homes, which were an institution. There was a few institutions like it in Ireland in the 20th century, really. About basically unmarried women, if they were raped or if they had sex out of wedlock and became pregnant, were usually put into these homes by their families under societal pressure, where their babies were usually taken off them as soon as they were born and treated horrendously. Women were whipped and forced into labour like slaves, and then the fruits of their labour, different things like workshops, were sold at a profit for the priests, and stuff's emerged, such as some of the babies were used in vaccination trials like as guinea pigs without their consent, and there was no kind of pickup from whatever happened. So then there was no monitoring of these kids who were used as new vaccinations that were being developed at the time. I mean, I'm pro-vaccination, don't get me wrong, but children shouldn't be used as guinea pigs for new chemicals without their consent. And thousands of children died, and women were abused and raped and whipped by members of the clergy and stuff like that. And now that it's come out, the same thing happened with the Magdalene laundries, which is a very famous thing. I mean, the thing had lasted until the late 1990s, you know. And this sort of societal shame at sex really has ripped apart this country, you know. And now the clergy are saying that money should come from their congregations towards the fund that should be set up to help these people. You know, not from the Vatican, but from the congregations, from the money that the people give to the church. That's what should come and go to the thing. And the same thing happened with the Magdalene laundries, where the church managed to whittle down the amount of money they should pay for these things, you know. I mean, it really is the Irish equivalent of the Holocaust, you know. They found hundreds of babies newborn babies just buried in a silage pit, and mothers weren't given access to, you know, where their babies might be now when they were put up for adoption, and a lot of them were sold by the church. And it's really, really horrific, and no counselling was ever even thought of to be given to these poor women who were considered to be the scum of the earth for daring to be raped by someone. And the men, of course, got off scot-free. There's one quite near here, Besborough, and it's just, there's been a report out on it lately, and it's all that's in the news, and lots of women on the radio telling horrific stories, and it's just horrible. And still people blind to go to church, you know. That was just a Virgin Mary statue quite near here, still up there. You know, she conceived without sin. She managed to have a baby without having sex. Well done, Mary. I'm sure Joseph enjoyed that. I'm sure you enjoyed that. You know, I mean, what was it then? Such a load of old bullshit. I mean, the thing is, Mary wasn't even married then, was she? So surely the fact that she gave birth, she was pregnant before she was married. I mean, isn't that sinful according to the dictates of this? Anyway, yeah, I mean, honestly, churches should be, no one should go into a church in this country. The things that Catholic Church did to this place is beyond, it's just beyond, like, you know, they should be on their knees begging for forgiveness. And instead you have priests in their churches saying, oh, well, there's no one here at Mass today, oh, it's awful. But yeah, you're raped and abused half your congregation. I mean, no wonder they're not here anymore. Like, what do you expect? And then to not be online and not being like, there should be a direct message from the Vatican about how sorry they are, and they should be redress, you know, for the crimes committed against the people of Ireland. But no, of course not. That would be too, like, I guess, like a holy order. Ooh, look, so behind me, one of these houses is where James Joyce's father, John Joyce, was born, in Dubliners. In Portrait of the Artist as a young man. James comes with his father to Cork, and they go by the old house. So I think it's somewhere here. They walk along the marina. Behind me there, there used to be a train that ran out to the beach. Really, you could get the train out. But yeah, it's getting quite wet. I should probably turn the phone off. So yeah, I'm gonna sign off now as I'm getting into a more populated region of Cork. But yeah, have a lovely time, and let me know how you're doing. Stay safe, wear a mask, don't be an idiot. Please try to be kind to people.